Here we are again. This is our 61st SLiTHER. Yeah, we've been doing this for a while and we have a lot of them. And I'm very excited to introduce our speaker today, Ashley McDonald from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Um,
Correct.
yes, and she's going to be talking about her institute, her now, what do you call it? An organization or a institute?
We call it an institute, but it's an NSF center. That's what it
Eh,
is. It's one of those
Okay,
big center grants.
okay, great. And so with that, so welcome everybody. I will let Ashley take the helm here.
All right, let me get my screen share started here. And we practiced this ahead of time, so it should work. All right. I want to thank Carrie so much for inviting me to talk to all of you here at your 61st SLiTHER. That's so impressive. Such a long-standing program. My name is Ashley McDonald. I'm from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo and the Molecular Sciences Software Institute. I'll talk a little bit more about the Molecular Sciences Software Institute. We call ourselves the MolSSI. And I'll just tell you a little bit more about who we are as an organization, what we do, and then what resources we offer that you might be interested in. So the MolSSI is an NSF, it's an NSF center. We have an NSF center grant. We were initially launched in 2016 and we were renewed in 2021. The MolSSI is a collaborative effort by 9 institutions in the United States. And I'm going to talk more about our specific goals, but very broadly, what the MolSSI wants to do is improve software education and training in all computational molecular sciences. So this certainly includes, quantum chemistry and physical chemistry, but also physics, also computational material science, definitely biomolecular simulation, the molecular parts of biology, but really anyone in a molecular science discipline who's using computation in their work. The MolSSI considers them part of our community, and we're a community driven organization. We want to do what the community wants us to do, and we want to provide resources that the community finds useful. So all these people we consider part of the community. They are our stakeholders, and we try to respond to their needs and what they feel the MolSSI can do for them. As I mentioned, the MolSSI is a collaborative effort by 9 institutions in the United States, one of which is my institution, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. You can see our board of directors here. We have one board of director member at each of our institutions. I'm down here in the lower left corner, and I'm actually the director for education, training, and faculty development. So at the MolSSI, I lead all of our education programming, all of our workshops and trainings and short courses and hackathons. That is all under my purview, as well as doing things like this, working with faculty and talking to faculty about what the MolSSI can do and what resources they have and how they as faculty want to interface with the MolSSI. So those things are all my purview at the MolSSI. The heart of the MolSSI is really these 9 people. These are who we call our software scientists. The MolSSI software scientists are full-time PhD professionals who have PhDs and backgrounds in a variety of disciplines. Sam Ellis, who happens to be in the middle there, he is a real computer scientist. He always laughs when I say that because he's like, what's a fake computer scientist? But Sam's PhD is in computer science. He really knows a lot about containerization and requirements engineering and really great computer science topics that help out the rest of us. Sina Mustafnajad is an expert on machine learning and AI. And then we have all of our other software scientists who have their own expertise and background. In particular, I want to highlight Dr. Jessica Nash. Jessica is the software scientist who is identified as the education lead. So she really, on a day-to-day basis, runs the education program, executes all of our ideas, plans all of our workshops and hackathons and the activities that I was mentioning. Um, And even though she's the education lead, a whole lot of the software scientists are really engaged with the education program. And I really enjoy working with them. And nothing really happens at the MolSSI that they are not behind. Broadly speaking, MolSSI has three goals, three things that we fundamentally do. The first thing that we do is we provide software expertise and infrastructure. And what I mean by providing infrastructure is the MolSSI actually has several core software products that we develop. And calling them products is a little bit funny because they're open source software, so we're not selling them in any way. But we maintain several open source software packages that really serve some underlying computational needs in the community. And then we also really try to engage with industry and the NSF supercomputing centers and national laboratories to really figure out how we need to be engaging with high performance computing and the future cyber infrastructure workforce. Our second goal, which is the goal I'm going to talk about the most today, is to provide education and training. We have a wide variety of programming. We have workshops. We have extensive online resources. We have faculty development opportunities, just a lot of different things in this education space. One of the things that I'm really proud of about our education programming is that we really try to target people at all levels of their career. If you're an undergraduate student who is joining a computational chemistry research group and you're like brand new to computational science, we have resources for you. All the way to faculty who want to upskill and integrate computation into their curriculum, and everybody in between, all the way from undergraduates through faculty and industry professionals. We have lots of different education and training opportunities for different groups. And then our final goal is to provide community engagement and leadership. Lots of times, people will want to sort of try to coalesce around an idea or come up with some community standards for how to do different things in computational science. And MolSSI tries to provide leadership in those efforts, but really have it be a grassroots approach where we lead on things that the community wants us to lead on. So as noted, for this audience, I'm really mostly going to be focusing on our second goal to provide education and training. And my strategy here is I'm just going to show you some examples of the kinds of resources that MolSSI has, what kinds of curriculum we offer, and then talk to you about how you might use the MolSSI curriculum as a springboard to develop computational curriculum for your own classes in your own discipline. So this is our one slide about MolSSI Education. Since we really launched MolSSI Education in 2017, we've had more than 2,000 students participate in our educational workshops. And this 2,000 number, we're almost up to 3,000 now. I'll be changing this slide soon. And this is the number of students who've participated in a synchronous activity, an in-person workshop, a webinar, or something of that nature. We also reach, tens of thousands of more students every month who use our online resources. And I'll show you our online resources and how to access those in just a few minutes. What kinds of things do we teach at MolSSI Education? Broadly speaking, we teach what the NSF now likes to call cyber infrastructure skills. So cyber infrastructure skills are sort of any kind of skills that prepare students to work in the computational research workforce. So this includes programming, data analysis, data visualization, anything else related to data science like data cleaning or data management. These are all things that are cyber infrastructure skills. Anything in the machine learning AI category, as well as high performance computing. So generally speaking, MolSSI Education does not focus on teaching specific scientific content. Like we're not really teaching chemistry or physics or inorganic chemistry or anything like that. We're teaching the programming languages and tools that underlie doing computational research in those areas, but all of the things that we teach are in the context of computational molecular science. So when students attend our workshop, if they're learning how to make a database, that database is going to be about something related to molecular science, not something general like baseball statistics or something like that. So all of our lessons about programming languages or computational tools are taught in the context of computational molecular science. And we try to engage audiences who are geographically and demographically diverse. We try to have programming at conferences and in venues where we can reach a wide range of students, including students who have been historically underrepresented in computation and in STEM disciplines. And to do this, we have a lot of great partnerships. We have a partnership with the Tapia Center for Excellence and Equity at Rice University, and we host a workshop with them every summer. We have a great partnership with Cal State Los Angeles through the Partnership for Research and Education in Chemistry. That's another NSF program. And then we have international partnerships like our partnership with BIMOL, which is a doctoral network based in the European Union. So what I really want to do now is I want to show you just a few specific MolSSI resources that I think would be particularly of interest to this group. So really our flagship course that I think is probably the most relevant to most of you is what we call our Python data and scripting course. And this Python data and scripting course is really designed to take someone who is an absolute beginner, who has never programmed in Python at all, and get them to sort of a level of competency where they could use Python as an analysis tool in a course or in research. So the things that this workshop covers are things like using the Jupyter Notebook. How do you use a Jupyter Notebook? What is a Jupyter Notebook? Why would you want to use one? Fundamental Python syntax and control structures, for loops, if statements, things like that. And then we jump in immediately into skills that you would use in research, like reading data from files, writing data to files. How do you manipulate files? How do you parse a file? Like if you have a big file that has been like, it was like the output of an instrument, and now you need to search through that file and find one particular piece of information. How do you do that programmatically in Python? That's something that we teach in this workshop. We focus a lot on analyzing and graphing data, as well as writing functions and creating command line programs from from Python scripts. So this is just an example of a schedule that you might do. I think the timings I are a bit unrealistic. It takes a little bit longer than this. I was telling Carrie while we were waiting for everybody to come in, on Monday and Tuesday next week, we are offering this workshop, the MolSSI Python data and scripting workshop, for our Cal Poly summer research students. So all of the students who are participating in summer research in the College of Science and Math are invited to come. And if you're doing that kind of context, like sort of an abbreviated, accelerated introduction, I would recommend covering these first 5 lessons: Python syntax, file parsing, working with files, tabular data. This tabular data lesson teaches them the very basics of the Python library NumPy, and this plotting and data visualization lesson, which teaches them the basics of the Python graphing library Matplotlib. To do those 5 lessons with truly beginner programmers and taking a few breaks, that's about 6 hours of instruction. So you can offer this as like a 1-day crash course where you do 3 hours in the morning and then you have lunch and you do 3 hours in the afternoon. With our students, we find that they like it better if we split it over 2 consecutive days. So we'll do 3 hours on Monday morning and then another 3 hours on Tuesday morning. That just gives them a little more time to absorb. But with this curriculum, you can really get students from zero to a reasonable level of skill in an abbreviated period of time. Like I said, it's about 6 hours of live instruction. And I will show you how to find this workshop on our website in just another slide or two. And the students can also, if you're not going to offer it for your summer research students, they could also just work through the lessons on their own. It is designed for self-paced learning. I will also mention before I go to my next slide that we have kind of a second version of this workshop that is specifically focused on biochemists. So we have a MolSSI Python data and scripting workshop for biochemistry and molecular biology. It serves the same purpose. It's intended to take students from being an absolute beginner to having a competent level of skills in an abbreviated time frame. But the examples that are shown in the biochemistry version are biochemistry examples. So instead of looking at the output file from a quantum chemistry calculation, you might be looking at a data file downloaded from the PDB, just because that's a little more relatable to biochemists. And I know that I don't think that this group has a lot of biochemists, but if you have biochemistry colleagues who are interested in something like that, or if you think that that would be more appealing to your students, we also offer that as well. Another thing that I wanted to highlight are our data analysis and data visualization workshops. We say that the audience for this one is beginner plus. So these workshops assume that you have fundamental Python knowledge, but not much more than that. In essence, these are all lessons that you could complete if you had completed lessons 1 through 5 of Python data and scripting. So if you had attended one of these workshops and you had foundational skills, you would then be ready to attend any of these data visualization workshops. These are all sort of standalone, even though they're sort of listed like they're a sequence. You could really do any of these independently. One of them is about working with NumPy arrays, understanding how NumPy arrays are different than lists. This is a workshop that's really good for people who originally learned to program in MATLAB because it highlights how NumPy arrays are similar and different than MATLAB arrays. Um, Another standalone one that a lot of people really like is using pandas for data analysis. Pandas is a Python data science library that is very popular in stats and in data science programs. So this is an intro to that. It uses a data set about the periodic table to teach how you can filter and clean and work with data. And then finally, according to our Google Analytics, this is the most popular lesson on our website. It is using SciPy for data fitting. Data fitting is so ubiquitous in lots of aspects of science. I guess it's not surprising that that is one of our more popular lessons. I don't have a little visual here, but we also have a separate workshop about scientific visualization using Python. This is a 3-hour workshop that focuses only on data visualization and teaches the students how to make really, really attractive plots and use some advanced features in Matplotlib. The final specific resource that I wanted to highlight is our MolSSI Best Practices in Python Development Workshop. This is our most popular workshop for graduate students. And I don't really know how many of you work with graduate students versus undergraduate students. But this workshop is really intended to take a person who already knows Python, who's done some coding, and now really wants to level up. And they want to go from just being a person who knows Python to a programmer who can work in a collaborative software environment with a team and understand these best practices in Python package development that would enable them to sort of take their code from just being a little script that only they can use to building it out into a true Python package that could be distributed to the community. Again, this course is very, very popular with grad students. I don't know if it would be good for your students or not, but it's definitely one that I wanted to show you. So if you wanted to find any of these resources, you would go to our MolSSI Education website, education.molssi.org/resources, and it would take you to this web page right here. And you can see we have some different tabs across the top, organizing our different types of resources. Under the programming tab, which is like the main one, our flagship workshop is that one I showed you, the Python data and scripting workshop. And then that alternate version, Python data and scripting for biochemists and molecular biologists. And if I would scroll down, you could see the data analysis and data visualization workshops. If you clicked over here to the software development tab, you could find that best practices in software development workshop. And then we have other sections as well for some of our other resources. Again, these resources are free and open source. You can just go to our website and look at anything you need. You are welcome to take any of the resources and modify them. If you think you make a modification that's really great that we should consider incorporating into the resources, we're very happy to take those suggestions. We truly mean open source in that it is available to the community, but it is also contributed to by the community. And one thing that a lot of faculty in particular do is that they take some of these resources and then they use those for foundational programming knowledge, and then they build some kind of discipline specific lesson that they want to use in their class on top of that MolSSI resource. So I have just a few examples of this that I kind of wanted to show you to maybe give you a little bit of an idea of what people are doing. So this first example comes from Santa Clara University from their general chemistry curriculum. And the faculty that work on this there are Grace Stokes and Hoda Mirafel. And they have taken our Python data and scripting workshop, the introduction lesson, and the lesson about plotting, and they have built on that to make an activity for their general chemistry class about the energy levels of the Bohr model. So they sent me this little example of what their Jupyter notebook looks like. I'm just going to highlight that this student here, Elliot Anderson, who was a Santa Clara University student who worked on this activity, he actually learned Python by attending our undergraduate computational chemistry program at Rice University with the Tapia Center. So, lots of students who attend our programs go on to do other great things in Python. So you can see they've created this Jupyter notebook here, and then here's the kind of code that the students would write, and then they would ultimately make some graphs. Another thing that I really found interesting about this Santa Clara activity was that this general chemistry class utilizes TAs. It was taught to more than 150 general chemistry students in 4 sections. So a big element of this was training the TAs to teach these Python skills. And the TAs reacted incredibly positively to this. The TAs really enjoyed learning about this. They were enthusiastic about it, and they really liked sharing it with the students. So I think that that's a particularly great example there I wanted to mention. The second example is from me and my own colleagues at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. This is an activity that we use in our physical chemistry class. It's using numeric integration to solve kinetics problems. If it's been a long time since you've thought about kinetics problems, you may remember that in kinetics, once you have your rate law, you can integrate it so that you can calculate the concentration at a later time. However, you may also remember that there's only certain rate law forms that are easy to integrate. So in this lesson, we teach the students how to use numerical integration to solve differential equations numerically so that they can solve any rate law form. It doesn't just have to be first order in one reactant or something that is easy to integrate by hand. So the general structure of how we present our lessons is that the students will have already completed there we go. The students will have already completed these MolSSI lessons for homework ahead of time. This one requires three things: the introduction, the plotting, and the functions lesson. And then in class, they'll have a Jupyter notebook like this that presents them some general information. There is a worked out code example, and then there are a few practice problems that are directly related to the concepts that we're currently going over in class. So the programming is not taught as like you have to learn programming because you have to learn programming. It's really taught in a context where the students are motivated because they are able to solve problems that they're not able to solve otherwise. And then the final example that I wanted to show you comes from Nick Mayhall, who's a faculty member at Virginia Tech. He teaches an undergraduate course about quantum software, and pretty much his class goes over the entire MolSSI best practices workshop. And then they have a class project where they develop a Python package to compute the thermodynamic properties of the spin icing model. So this is just a screenshot from one of his students' packages. You can see they've set it up. It's from this student. Here's all of their code in their GitHub organization. And through this project, they really learn about collaborative workflows and how to take something that you've maybe started developing in a notebook and convert it all the way to being a real Python package. So those are just some examples of different faculty who've taken a foundational MolSSI resource and then used that as a springboard to develop curriculum for their class. And then just the last two things I wanted to mention today before we finish up are some of the other opportunities that are available with the MolSSI. Again, I don't know if all of you work with just undergraduate students or undergraduate and graduate students, but MolSSI does have a fellowship program for grad students. This fellowship program pairs the grad student with one of our MolSSI software scientists for a year to help them implement best practices in software development into their own graduate project. They get a stipend from the MolSSI. They get to come to a workshop at the MolSSI and network with other grad students and learn these best practices in software development. And they also, as I said, are assigned one of our software scientists as a mentor. Generally, applications for this program open in February and are due in mid-March each year. Our new class of fellows is just about to start in July. But this is something that you could tell your students to be on the lookout for next year. We also have a faculty fellowship program. And I know that Carrie knows about this and she can give you more information if you're interested. But the faculty fellowship program is a curriculum development fellowship program where we try to identify faculty who are developing curriculum to incorporate cyber infrastructure skills into their classes. People who are doing the kinds of things that I just showed you in those previous examples. They receive financial support for this. I know it's hard to get financial support to do curriculum development sometimes. So they receive financial support from the MolSSI. They again get to participate in a week-long workshop to upskill their own computational skills and then think about how they want to incorporate those skills in what they teach their students. And they get mentorship from a MolSSI curriculum mentor as well as a software mentor. Applications for this program generally open right at the start of spring semester in January and are due in February each year. And then you start your fellowship year in June when you attend the Faculty Fellows Workshop. The faculty fellows workshop for this year was just last week, actually, in Blacksburg, and we had a really great time meeting our new class of faculty fellows and working with them. So I, of course, would be remiss if I did not thank our sponsors at NSF. And once again, here are our websites. MolSSI.org is our main website. And then education.molssi.org is where you can find all those educational resources. And if you want to keep up with the MolSSI, if you want to know about all these workshops and events and the faculty fellowship program and when do applications open, the very best thing to do is join our email list. We email once or twice a month with different kinds of opportunities and events. So that is all I had for you today. And I would be delighted to take questions or have discussion or, give you more information about any of these resources that you might be interested in.
All right. Well, that was a great presentation. Thank you so much, Ashley. We can open it up to you all. If you have questions, just go ahead, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thanks very much. I enjoyed that. I had a question about running these workshops. You said you could do them in a sort of in-class setting, spread out over 2 days. How well and they work okay asynchronously as assignments. How, when you have sort of adapted this as an assignment, given students sort of like returnables, things they're turning in to keep track of them when they're done in an asynchronous way?
Right. So you certainly, there's several options there. So at my institution, we use an assignment management program in all of our chemistry classes called LabPal. And it enables you to give the students digital assignments and collect back digital products, which then can be auto graded or graded by you, the faculty member, depending upon how you set it up. A lot of people just distribute their assignments and have the students turn them in through the normal learning management system, like if your campus uses Canvas or whatever like that. But then also, I don't know if you've ever used GitHub or if you're familiar with GitHub, but GitHub is a online repository system that lets people share and collaborate with code, and they have an offering called GitHub Classroom. And with GitHub Classroom, you create your assignments as, most of the time I do it as a Jupyter notebook, but you can do it other ways too. And when the students click on the link for the assignment creation, which you could just post on the learning management system, it automatically creates a GitHub repository in their GitHub for every single student. And then you can collect all of them at one time. You can run tests on them. So there's just levels of options depending upon what your students know how to use or what you want to teach them how to use.
That's great. Yeah. When I've done programming exercises in the past, I've mostly just had students turn in like screenshots of plots, which are fine, but I don't really have a great way of testing how well they understand these programming concepts. I'll look into that GitHub Classroom. Thank you.
Yeah, GitHub Classroom can be great for that. And GitHub Classroom has even more features than I actually use. Like if the students were in groups and you actually wanted to look at their collaboration, like who submitted this pull request and who reviewed it and what did the reviewer say, like you could get at that level of fine-grained assessment if you cared to.
All right. Do we have any other questions for Ashley? Well, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So you highlighted a few of these faculty developed assignments, and really cool. Wondering, do you have a lot of these on your website, or is this part of the Faculty Fellows project that's coming up?
Right. So currently we have 0 of them on our website. We have said that we, the MolSSI, we're not going to develop discipline specific curriculum. We were only going to develop the cyber infrastructure portion. And then it was up to the faculty to develop the discipline specific curriculum. With our faculty fellows program, the faculty are like, yeah, but like, how are we going to share our resources if we each just make an individual website? That's kind of silly. It would be disjointed. So the MolSSI is now committed to making a curriculum hub that faculty can release their resources through. That's one of our goals for this year as part of our faculty fellows program. So we are going to have a curriculum hub. It is still under development, but be on the lookout, and it will be community generated. So people will have the ability to submit things. We'll have some vetting process, and then they'll be released.
Yeah, so I really like that. And so would it be, so I'm part of Viper, so would it be sort of like that where people can take it and do what they want with it? And yeah, that's really great. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely what we're hoping for. And then we also, like, there are several faculty fellows who are in the program this year. I guess there's only 2. Maybe that's not several. There are 2 fellows who are in the program this year who are also very engaged with the POGLE community, the inquiry learning community. So they're like, if we release them on the curriculum portal, does that prevent us from also putting them on the POGLE portal? And we're like, no, not from our standpoint. If the POGLE people say, no, we won't take it because it's been published somewhere else, we can't control that. But from our point of view, we're totally fine if you want to publish it in JChem Ed, but also put it on the portal, or if you want to release it to Viper and also put it on the portal, we would be fine with any of those choices.
Yeah, it'd be great if someone could put it in multiple places. All right, do you have a question?
Yeah, well, I just want to thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for that very nice presentation. It's very helpful. Just trying to wrap my mind around it. Like I have to teach quantum chemistry coming up, and I haven't taught it in 6 years. So, things have changed, but I feel like so many of the projects that I had, like in Mathematica, where students are sort of generating ways to solve functions and display their data. I feel like I could just adapt that. I mean, I don't know Python, but I think I could pick it up pretty quickly. I feel like those are all adaptable to this sort of thing. Have you talked to people who have Mathematica projects who change it over?
So at CalPoly for the first, so 2 things. At CalPoly, we teach our programming lessons, or we started teaching our programming lessons in our physical chemistry curriculum. So we're a quarter campus, so we have 5 PChem classes: thermo, kinetics, quantum, PChem Lab 1, PChem Lab 2, which is really just a normal year just on quarters. We integrated programming into all 5 of those classes. And since we've done that, some of our other colleagues, like Taylor Haynes, who is an inorganic chemist who's involved with Viper, he's sort of leveraged that because the students are always in his class after they're in my class. So I'm like, okay, well, I know you learned this in McDonald's class, so now we're going to do it in our class. For years, for about 8 years, our programming lessons were in MATLAB, because that was sort of our campus thing, because we're an engineering campus. And we switched because, one, the students were kind of demanding it. Like, they could see that in our discipline, in chemistry, it was becoming much more a marketable skill to have Python programming skills than MATLAB programming skills. Is that true in all disciplines? Probably not. Is Python the language of choice in all disciplines? Probably not. But in chemistry right now, it is. Python is the language of choice. And then the second reason is that we were strongly motivated from an access point of view to move from a closed source, paid software product to an open source product. So we did exactly what you're describing. We translated all of our previous programming lessons in MATLAB into Python. It took a while. There was some adjustment. Then, because we had a site license for MATLAB on campus, it was already installed on all the computers. So then we had to work with the IT people and get them to install Python on all the computers. And there were some growing pains, but I think that this is the trend. I think that people are moving more and more to these open source software tools. And right now in chemistry, the one that's popular is Python.
Thanks. I guess I'm gonna have to catch up.
Another thing that I can tell you that we used extensively when we were converting our lessons is our new friend, ChatGPT. ChatGPT can do a great job if you paste it in some Mathematica code and say, convert this Python. It won't be perfect, but it'll give you a good start so you can then piece it together and figure out what you need to teach the students to do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I saw the comment in the chat from Sam about converting the Mathematica exercises from Josh Schreier's computational physical chemistry textbook. Like every time I see Josh anywhere, I'm like, hey, Josh, have you considered rewriting your book in Python? Have you thought about it? I think it would be a great idea if you'd rewrite your book in Python.
I'm happy to share what I've done. It's by no means perfect, but it's the quantum sections that I've done.
Yeah, so.
All right, do we have any other questions for Ashley? All right, with that, I will thank Ashley McDonald for a wonderful presentation, and thank you so much for the information on the MolSSI. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you all, and I hope that you'll keep in touch and connect with them. We'll see in the future if there's a way that we can be engaged with Viper.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. That would be wonderful.
All
Okay.
right. Thank y'all so much.
Right. Bye-bye, everybody.